Namaskar. On behalf of Ministry of Women and Child, Government of India, I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for creating such a wonderful forum to share some of the initiatives of the ministry. And first of all, I apologize all of you because I cannot speak Hindi well. I'd like to make my presentation in English, but in between I'll see to it that some Hindi words are also spoken. Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say since yesterday I've been hearing a lot of people discussing various things, and when I interacted with some of the volunteers, I get a feeling that some of you are very, very, pioneer in this field, who have got a lot of experience, who've captured a lot of things in the field level, and you've been doing a lot of good work. And some of you might have just entered into the, to this activity. So I thought I'd like to flag a few issues for introspection, particularly from the point of view of, the rights. Since many of you have been talking about the rights, I felt it is essential to understand that all of us have the right, whether it is for social security, right to life, right to adequate food, right to health, right to adequate housing, education, work, and right to liberty, personal security, to participate in public affairs, not to be subjected to the torture, right to fair trial, right to freedom from opinion and expression. I know that all of us must be having some idea about this, but why should women and children be denied of these rights? From that angle, I'd like to take some of the initiatives which have been undertaken by the ministry. First of all, enabling rights is something very, very difficult. The facilitative factors are, although we know quite well, but what we have seen of today is the denial of these as far as women and children are concerned, because there are no opportunities, or if you look at, there is no equality or justice is not there at all in many of the situations, be it at a household level or at any kind of or at the society. So therefore we see there is a lot of injustice in many ways to women and children, and more so, I'd like to say they're vulnerable from the point of view of many things. Vulnerable, I say, because whether it is social or economic, they have been on a low status. Their social security or economic empowerment, although there has been number of initiatives, but we still see things have to progress enormously, because it's still we are far behind. And I'd like to say, when I say vulnerability, especially because of certain prevailing factors in our society, be it the class, the caste, the religion and the region, or let's say the family size, all of which will put a woman or children into a lower strata. And same thing when I have to say about economic poverty, maybe because of unemployment, maybe because of lack of skills, migration, or especially when we look at children or aged, they do have the similar kind of problem. And to put it in a, in a larger perspective, I would definitely like to say women, basically, when we say woman, which is from the point of view of society's eyes, which is a social construct, is what puts her into a very, difficult position. And therefore, there is a denial, be it because she's a woman, she has to behave in a certain manner, because she's a woman, she has to act like certain manner. So all those pressures puts her into a position where she's not able to access certain things, or she's not able to exercise certain things. So, having said that, we see that, whether it is in the labor market, or whether it's in her education, or whether it is any kind of skill or mobility, or even, let us say, even her reproductive rights have all been denied, because the very fact that, there is a social construct. But, I'm not going to talk about the statistics, but still a few issues will definitely help us to understand why certain schemes have been implemented in the, why do we have certain schemes? First of all, if you look at children, we have quite a huge number of children, 450 million children, and and also highest number of children anywhere in the world, I would say, and more than 1/3 of country's population below 18 years who are minors, because of which we also see, countries not ready to kind of provide certain basic facilities. And then the largest number of minors, as I said, and a problem and a challenge for the survival, growth, development, and safety of the children. And it's not so easy for women as well. If you look at 48% of the population, and overall progress of the country is dependent on their protection, preservation, promotion, and enabling them to lead the life that they should be leading, which is not there. And most importantly, the neglect and the discrimination which we see all through hampers their progress. No matter at an institutional level, we may create a lot of support services, but yet in reality we see that certain things have to change drastically. That is the mindset that is there, be it at a household level, be it at an institutional level, be it at a governance, at all levels. And just to put it, that, today we talk of a country where we say that, we have a lot of ethos, despite of it, despite non-violence, despite tolerance, spirituality, and, $1 trillion economy that we're talking, India hosts the world's largest number of tortured, violated upon, abused children and women at a far higher rate than any other country in the world, which is, I would say, a shameful thing, because on one hand we talk about the progress, which is difficult to achieve. We have shown our progress, but this is something that, it's just what you require is some kind of an understanding that they are important human beings, but the basic essence is missing. So the areas of concern, if you look at, there are certain key areas which we need to really understand. The low progress in relation in almost all areas, declining sex ratio, this is one major thing which has to be really, it's really, killing a girl child, or let's say infanticide or feticide, is it's becoming so common that despite so many programs and policies and, making different stakeholders to understand, we continue to have this scenario. Dropout from school is still, higher at higher classes. Work participation rate, although, is comparatively increased, but, in an organized sector, of course, it's still less. Violence against women and atrocities are on increase, and it is inside the family and outside as well. Exploitation, trafficking of women and children, domestic violence, rape, dowry, murder, it continues to daunt even today. On one hand, we have shown certain progress, but on the other hand, we have seen the social issues and problems are cropping up equally. So maternal health and malnutrition continues to be a cause of concern, which we have kind of, we look at certain programs in a compartmentalized way or in an isolated way, not looking at holistic development and health of women and children. And therefore, in segregated manner, if we try to provide certain things, I think we won't be able to achieve. But this is one major problem that we are seeing, and because of which we see the next generation can continue to have this kind of a problem. So high level of anemia, lack of care during pregnancy, and maternal mortality are some of the key issues, because there's no need for a woman to die because of childbearing, because it's a normal process. But yet we see a lot of women dying because of difficult labor and or delivery. So just to say that gender equality, if we have to talk, it's not just a woman's issue, it's a people's issue. Because if we are, she's a part of the family, she's a part of the society, she's a contributor, she's a provider, she's a resource herself. So, but if you have to really look at issues, the equality, it has to be understood from a broader perspective, and it is people's issue. Unless this gets internalized in every one of us, perhaps we won't be able to do anything for them. So, therefore, gender issues transcends all age, and there exists bias, which I was telling, bias against women and girls in the Indian society. The disparity, bias, differentiation in terms of treatment of the individual and the family or at the society level. Low priority in attention and participation, including views of women and girls. There's hardly any, because decision-making roles, if you see, it's still lesser. Inadequate distribution of goods and services within and outside the family. Therefore, they're viewed as weak, incapable of have a lack of expertise and not have no initiative, and resign to fate rather than question the value and attitudinal system that operates the gender issues, which is what we need to kind of make them change, So low allocation of resources and perception that women and girls are a burden and liability, it continues. Lack of opportunities, lack of facilitating factors, conditions for women and girls to avail of the opportunities is something that we see. And therefore, if you look at the policies and programs or legislative initiatives and schemes of Ministry of Women and Child, they are tailor-made to address these stated social malaise. And some of the key things which I would want you to know is the National Women's Empowerment Policy of 2002 re-emphasizes the constitutional provisions and directives, and basically to say that right to freedom, direction to state for facilitative programs and measures for reducing gender disparity, which has been still a low priority. Legislative instruments to cover gender issues includes instruments on trafficking, such as ITPS, sexual harassment at workplace, rape law under IPC, gender-neutral legislation, sexual offences against children. And the Women Empowerment Initiative, I have to say, has enabled setting up of National Women's Commission and its state branches. Some are still being set up in some of the states. And gender budgeting, I'll come to the scheme a little later, but I thought this I would give you as a preamble. Gender budgeting is not only advocated by Ministry of Women and Child, since we all know that Planning Commission has taken a big role to provide this, to lead. Then programs such as ICDS, ICPS, SABLA, IGMSY provide a thrust on gender parity while working with families and communities at the grassroots level in order to ensure a robust nation with the strong values for women and girls in particular. But definitely I'd like to say, although there are certain schemes, sure. Yeah, I'll just check. Although there are certain schemes not under the purview of WCD, but there are certain schemes which enable the women, the target women, if you look at in a particular village, you see there are n number of schemes operating, but she's the target woman, but the schemes around her are there, but the ability to link, ability to weave, ability to take those schemes to the concerned target group have been still very low. For instance, whether it is Rashtriya Mahila Kosh, or Narega, or Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, or Sabla, or a STEP program, or let us say Bima Yojana, ICDS, NRHM. If you look at all these things, enable a woman for her social and economic empowerment. There are schemes which has an opportunity for women to take these things. And ये है जो स्कीम्स जो मैंने बोल रहे थे, ये है कि बहुत सारे स्कीम्स है, जैसे स्टेप जो है सपोर्ट टू ट्रेनिंग एंड एम्प्लॉयमेंट प्रोग्राम, ऑब्जेक्टिव्स है मोबिलाइजिंग वुमेन इन स्मॉल ग्रुप्स एंड इनकम जनरेशन एक्टिविटीज फॉर प्रोवाइडिंग ट्रेनिंग एंड स्किल अपग्रेडेशन. टारगेट बेनिफिशियरीज है मार्जिनल एंड असेटलेस वुमेन. बहुत सारे अच्छे चीज है जैसे विमेन डेयरी कोऑपरेटिव्स है और अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर्स में जो भी ट्रेडिशनल स्किल्स है उसी को लेके आगे लेने के लिए देयर आर लॉट ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज. Or working women's hostel, it is actually a very good thing for people who would want to avail certain services. It promotes availability of safe accommodation with the daycare facility for the children if women are bringing. And of course, I'll run through that. Swadhar and short stay home, it provides shelter facility, food, clothing and care for women in difficult circumstances. Basically, also creating women helpline, counseling and social rehabilitation and legal and other support services. Ujjwala is also one of the best schemes, I would say, to prevent trafficking of women and children, because we see these cases happening, especially in the border districts and border areas. So for their rehabilitation, rescue, this scheme has helped tremendously. Rajiv Gandhi National Cash Scheme for Children, to promote all-round development of children, especially for working women and ailing mothers, and to provide daycare services for their children. And Rashtriya Mahila Kosh, of course, it's again to extend microfinance and services through client-friendly and loan for livelihood activities for micro-enterprise, family needs and socio-economic upliftment of poor women. And basically, the members of SHGs are given the support. Similarly, gender budgeting, which is to be mainstreamed for mainstreaming the gender concerns in policies and programs. And all grant in aid schemes for voluntary organization for innovative projects which are not a part of the regular scheme to supplement the existing grant in aid. There are a number of such uncharted areas which is so relevant. Probably if there is a need for initiating something new, there is a possibility, there is an opportunity to avail that. And then most importantly, Prevention of Women from Domestic Violence Act, it has to be implemented. So the ministry is taking a lot of initiative to implement this act, created a separate structure to combat violence against women by implementing special cells for intervention models. And if I have to talk about children, two particular schemes I would like to definitely talk. Integrated Child Protection Scheme, which has been launched recently to provide safe and secure environment for all round development of children, and especially children in need of care and protection and children who are in conflict with law. And this is, of course, this was earlier also support system was there, but now all those things have come under one umbrella to provide protection, and therefore special structures have been created like, CWC or JJB, Juvenile Justice Board, and, State Juvenile Police Unit to promote this. And usi tarah ICDS, it's a flagship program. I know that all of you are very familiar with this and you've been talking. But although the scheme has really been there for almost 35 years, but still we need to take it further, because still, although it has been universalized to reduce the incidence of mortality, morbidity and malnutrition among children, and to enhance, their capabilities, mothers' capabilities to look after, and more so to provide some kind of early childhood education to children, which is otherwise it was not there. But what has happened, the reach has been very little. The service delivery mechanism has to improve, and more and more people need to access this, which is not there. So people like you should really come forward to bring people. For instance, I'd like to give the smallest thing, like even having a birth registration. Getting a certificate, birth certificate is a big problem even today. I think you can definitely play a very vital role in enabling this process, or similarly getting immunization, timely immunization or supplementary nutrition, or let's say even enabling a pregnant mother to rush to the hospital, because we see that, although there are other facilities there, but still we feel the services are inadequate, and there are, the information is yet to reach the people. So these are the specific measures which I was mentioning, whether it is legal safeguards, policies favoring women, shelter and service for women, short stay home, juvenile home, correctional institution, family counseling centers, prevention and sensitization of various programs, special law enforcement mechanism, all women police station, special police cells, public interest litigation, legal aid and innovative justice, in addition to other income generating activities for which, support services are there. Just to put it in one line, that, we have been talking about the Millennium Development Goals. If you really look at the goal number 3, 4 and 5, that is goal number 3 is promote gender equality and empowerment of women. If these schemes are adequately implemented and if the schemes are well received, and I think we can achieve this, and similarly to reduce child mortality, ICDS is playing a key role in that. And similarly, improve maternal and child health. I mean, these schemes which we have today will be able to facilitate. But still, what we feel is there is a gap in terms of information, services, and also gap in terms of how to access those services, how to demand for certain services. I think you being a potential group, मुझे लगता है आप लोग जरूर लोगों तक ये सब schemes को you can take it to them. And if you have any questions, I think I'll stop, because I'm told that I have to stop.